Super Rugby, round 11, the Saturday games. Sorry for missing the Friday games, guys. I was horribly sick yesterday with some 24-hour bug. Feeling box of birds today. So, yeah, we're into it. The first game, all New Zealand affair, Hurricanes against Chiefs. They drew last time they played. It was in Hamilton. It was 23-all. That was kind of the start of the Chiefs' turnaround. They had been on like a 4-game losing run up until that point. They hit that draw, then they got 3 wins in a row. They've since added that one loss to the Lions last week in Hamilton, which was a bit disappointing. But yeah, it was a result that they turned around earlier in the season, and it was a result where the Canes weren't really able to punish a team that were on its knees. So the Canes are still doing pretty well. 6 wins, 2 losses to the Crusaders, and a draw. Again, the Chiefs. So they are pretty big-time favourites for this one. Part of that, if you look at the Chiefs lineup, I think the key man you're missing there is Brodie Retallick. They are just not the same team without him. Although Michael Allardyce is back, expect him to give away a few penalties. That's kind of what he does. I'm being a bit facetious, but also a part serious. He does annoy me with that. Jack Debrasini got concussed last week, so he is out as well. So the Stephen Donald, Beaver, comes back into the side, 22. He's the same age as me, so yeah, getting a bit long in the tooth, but man, the guy is certainly a cult hero here in New Zealand and in the Waikato, so yeah, we'll see how he goes if he comes on. Good news for them, Ale Malo is back and he starts at fullback in place of Debrasini. Tamua Manu's at 13, so ALB moves in one spot to 12. Ardron's moved back from the second row to number 8. Michael Allardyce, like I said, is back. He partners Mitch Brown. Also, Chiefs fans will be pretty happy that Angus Ta'avao is back on the tight head side. So Atu Moli is moved up from the bench to start at loose head. And yeah, that's their team. Obviously, still no Damien McKenzie. He's out for the season. So his brother starts at 10. Brad Weber's at 9. Tuhuri Rangi is also back up 9 there as well. For the Canes, who beat the Sunwolves over in Japan last week, there is a slight risk of a bit of travel weariness, but not too much. Japan's not that far away. Geordie Barrett is back. He starts at fullback, so that means Chase Tiatia has moved from fullback to the left wing, which sees Ben Lamb out of the squad entirely. As far as I'm aware, there's no illness or injury there. It's just form. So he is out. Bowden Barrett is back at 10. So, yeah, James Marshall's there on the bench. Did I just break my pen? No, I didn't. Asafa Amor starts at hooker, so Riccatelli is on the bench. There's still no Dane Coles. He is injured. Ari Savia is back. Kane Leo Pepe starts in the second row alongside Blackwell. But other than the Barrett brothers being back and Tiatia being moved for the most part, it's a pretty stable-looking Hurricanes team, which is perhaps the reason that they are 11-point favourites at home over the Chiefs. These two teams tend to have pretty even games. They're never that many points between them, so we'll see if that rings true here as well. Certainly the Chiefs need the win after last week more than the Canes do, but the Canes really need to step up and show that they're a team that can challenge the Crusaders despite having 2 losses against them. Nobody is really in that frame yet. The Hurricanes are the closest. So if you're looking for a team to perhaps give us an entertaining playoff match at some point in Christchurch, the Canes at the moment seem like your best bet despite being a bit up and down. But still, 6 wins. Pretty good. The next one is the Waratahs hosting the Sharks. Similar records, 4 wins and 4 losses for the Tars, 4 wins and 5 losses for the did I say the Sharks? The Tars, 4 and 4, the Sharks 4 and 5. Sharks, though, their last 2 results were pretty poor. They're coming off that loss to the Reds at home, following a loss to the Jaguares at home. So it seems like the Sharks play better away. Perhaps this is a good chance for them to get back into some form. The Tars, they coming off an important win over the Melbourne Rebels, so staying in contention for that top spot in Australia. So they will definitely need to get a win over a Sharks team, which at least in the last 2 games has been struggling. And they've picked a team to do that because they've essentially changed nothing in the starting 15 except for Curtis Rona and Newsom swapping. So Rona gets a start. Newsom's on the bench. Speaking of the bench, Tolulatu is back. as your reserve hooker. Now that guy adds something in terms of work at the breakdown when he comes on. He seems to play better when he's coming from the bench, so look for him to make a bit of impact as well. So this means Kurtley Beale still gets a run at fullback. As I said, things haven't changed in that department. But you've got Carmichael Hunt there, you've got Adam Ashley Cooper there, Foley there. All these guys are able to kind of shift positions on the fly, so expect to see a bit of Kurtley coming in to first receiver at times. The Sharks, on the other hand, have made, I don't know if you would call it wholesale changes, but definitely a lot of changes. Kerwin Bosch gets a start at 10. I know a lot of fans have been calling for that. Rob Dupria been kind of much criticised in the last couple of games. He's relegated to the bench alongside Schroeder. So it's Cameron Wright and Bosch at 9 and 10. Mapimpi comes in for Mvovo. Comes in at 13. Fussy comes up from the bench to replace Bosch at 15 because he's moved into 10. Thomas Dutoy starts on the tight head, so kind of used Hazen is on the bench. Interestingly, Akavandamurva is back this week, but he doesn't get the start. He is going to make some impact from the bench. So yeah, when you look at these two teams, which team needs it more? Pretty even, isn't it? The Tars at home would definitely like to hold. They are at Western Sydney Stadium this week. They've been getting some good numbers for the league, so hopefully they do the same for Union. The Sharks, they're on tour now after 2 home losses, so if they are going to do the whole we play better away from home, here should be a chance for them to put their best foot forward. But with the Bulls, with that record that they've got, if the Sharks don't get a move on, they could find themselves getting a bit left behind, because the Lions have completed their tour after they finished their match against the Crusaders this week. The Stormers have done their tour. Not everybody's done their tour, but the tour is the hardest part for the teams in the South African Conference. So the ones who've already got that out of the way are kind of already one step ahead. Did I say who's the favourite? Tars by 7 is what the bookies have got for that one. So not a blowout, but still predicted to be a fairly comfortable result for them. The next one, and this one looks like a cracker. Stormers up against the Bulls. Stormers 4 wins, 5 losses. Bulls, top South African team, 5 wins and 3 losses. But when they have lost, they've been bad, the Bulls. So everyone in the South African Conference seems fairly inconsistent. But who is the most inconsistent? Is that the Sharks or is it the Stormers? Is it the Lions? I don't know. The Stormers, pretty poor loss against the Brumbies, which kind of erased any good feelings with their away win over the Rebels. So they are still very much heads or tails team as to how they're going to perform. The Bulls are coming off a bye, so it could be lacking a bit of match sharpness, or could be well rested and looking to really fire all guns blazing. The last time they played, it wasn't all guns blazing. The Bulls, it was in Pretoria, and it was 40 points to 3. That was this season. So, yeah, if the Stormers had a reason to want some revenge, that would be it. Aside from keeping in contention this season, they would like to put in a better performance for sure. They have made a few changes. Engelbrecht comes in at outside centre. Dale Ender's back at 12, so that's a decent looking midfield. Jean-Luc Duplessis is back at 10, so Stander is back on the bench. Kolisi is back at 6. Schickerling is good news. He's back in the second row, and Malherbe starts alongside Ntubeni and Kitsoff in the front row. So Kitsoff's the only name who played in the starting 15 last week. For the Bulls, well, you can't say how did they change from last week because they were on the bye. But Stickling still gets the nod on the right wing. Kotz is on the left. Van Sales ahead of Papier at 9. Pollard's still 10. Galant is at 15, which is very good news. Snyman, who I think had 5 offloads in the one game that he's played this season, is definitely a man to watch in the second row for the Bulls. Vermeulen's there, so it's a very strong looking Bulls team. But interestingly, they are not favourites for this one. Despite 40-3 last time, it's the Stormers by 2. I guess home advantage is what the punters and the bookies are going for there. It does look to be a cracking game. I'll definitely see if I can either get up to watch this one or try to avoid all news about it and watch it on replay in the morning, because, yeah, for some reason I reckon that one could be a very good game. And the last one, the Jaguares hosting the Brumbies. So again, it's another team coming off the bye in the Jaguares. 4 wins, 4 losses, a bit of a mixed bag this season. The Brumbies, maybe they're coming right. 4 wins and 5 losses. They were looking kind of dead and buried at one point in the season, but they are coming back. Jaguares are in the same position as everyone else in the South African conference in that they've been up and down, and they do need to get some consistency. They are back home after playing in South Africa, so they've had a week's rest. Travel's not going to be a factor for them, but the Brumbies have just gone Australia 1 week, South Africa the other week, and then now they're in Argentina, so there's potentially a bit of fatigue there that the Jaguares might be able to exploit in the last 20 minutes. We will see. It's a pretty strong looking Jaguares team. Boffelli is there. Interestingly, the wingers are Cancellieri and Carreras. I don't think we've seen Carreras play this season, so how he goes will be one to watch. There is no Mojano and no Dalgi in the squad this week. Lavanini and Petty, though, are in the second row, which is very nice to see. Miotti keeps getting the nod at number 10. Maybe he's going to be the guy for them going forward this season since his excellent debut. Cavelli starts at 9, and he was in good form the last time he played as well. De La Fuente is still at 12. Orlando's at 13. Matera 6. Crema 7. Lozana 8. It's a pretty good looking Jaguares team. Crevi, interestingly, gets the start ahead of Montoya this week at hooker. Crevi's been bench bound for at least the last 2 or 3 games for the Jaguares, so that's an interesting switch. The Brumbies coming across after that result against the Stormers should be kind of buoyed by that result. They've only made a few changes in Matt Lucas coming in at 9, so Joe Powell's on the bench, and James Slipper coming on at loosehead, so Scott Seo is on the bench. Otherwise, it's unchanged. There's still no David Pocock, so your back row is Samu, Cusack, and Brown. Rory Arnold, who was excellent last week, continues on a second row alongside Carter. It's still Liliafano at 10, Pulu 11, Wright 12, Kurandrani 13, Spate 14, and Tom Banks at 15. So it's a decent looking Brumbies team, but you got to think Jaguares coming off a bye at home with all those big guns, perhaps too strong. The bookies have got them by 4 points, so not saying it's going to be a blowout, but that's kind of predicted to be the second closest of the games, with the Bulls and Stormers supposed to be a bit closer. I guess we will see. You guys let me know your thoughts on these games. How do you think they are going to go? Are you backing any of the away teams to pick up victories here? Which one do you think is going to be the game of the week? For some reason, like I said, my gut feeling is the Bulls Stormers one to be pretty brutal, but yeah, I guess we will wait and see. Some of the Stormers games have been kind of stinkers this season with them lacking the try scoring factor, but I don't know. Sixth Sense is telling me it. Probably now it'll be like 9-3 or something now that I've said that. Anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts. I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.